Okay. Sorry. Hi, how are you? I wasn't looking at Chris's stream, so I didn't know when we were live. So hi, how are you guys? It's Dropped Gears, another episode yet again, with your favorite people, minus one, with me, Import Shorty, and our guest today, Toble guy from Split. He has graciously joined us at the last minute to replace Lime, who is missing at the moment. But it's okay. She's spending time with her family because her family flew out from Chile to visit her. So she's having a good old time being able to spend time with her family. So we're gonna let her do that. But we are gonna still talk about things and try to get ourselves canceled like we always do every episode. So definitely hope you guys are ready for this evening, just to chill, relax, and talk about things that will make us all mauled eventually. And we will listen to Shorty go on another 15-minute rant about something that he dislikes that Nadeo has done. So let's go
Not
into
that
our
bad.
introductions. It is that bad. Shorty, how are you doing, my guy?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I was away all day. I had to wake up early because I had a doctor's appointment with the eye doctor. Uh, my eyes are shit, but they are
Wow.
not as shit as I thought they would be.
Blah. How bad is your vision? Like in negative numbers?
In negative numbers, -5. No, that doesn't work like that. It's like I only have like -2, but in percentages, it's like 80%, even with my glasses.
So you have so like your the power of your glasses right now are -2.
Yes, not very strong to be honest, but the eyes are still bad. Anyway, I
Hmm.
don't have anything wrong with my eyes. At least everything is good. And nowadays, actually, they have some really weird tech stuff going on there. Like you have like those goggles, like you look through something, and then
Hmm.
she suddenly said, "Yeah, I'm look at this green light and don't uh, don't shriek." And all of a sudden, then they blast like some air at your eye
Yeah, they puff
for
air at you.
whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, that never had that before. What the fuck?
Oh, see, okay. So my entire life has been involved with going to the optometrist all the time. Because I am legally blind without corrective lenses. I'm wearing contacts right now, and my contacts are negative 9.5 in power.
Okay, that's
So,
insane.
Holy
Are they
shit.
made
so
o are they made out of glass, or are they just in general
you would
special?
think, right? I mean, they're. I mean, I don't notice the difference. People like when you see my glasses, they are like thick. Like the lenses are super thick. And I'm not joking when I say they are this big.
I know what you mean,
Um,
like, -9
yeah.
is insane.
Oh god, I thought I had bad eyes.
No, 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 no. I'm literally blind without corrective lenses, but the power of technology allows me to see at least 20, 25 vision or something of that nature. So, yeah. But we do have a special guest today.
Wow.
It is Sarah Tobel. How are you doing, my guy?
Well, I'm terribly excited. Aaron has texted, no, not that way. No, Aaron has texted me
Wow.
today, and was like, "We need someone to replace someone on the podcast." And well, I've been looking forward to that. So yeah, don't mind me being a little bit anxious for the first bit until I
You'll be
kind of
fine.
get into the swing of things. Yeah.
You'll be
I
fine.
feared
It'll
you
be
found the perfect solution to that already in the chat
yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
I approve of that solution.
All right. Well, we have a couple topics today, and we're gonna try a new segment at the end. I've kind of explained to both Tobal and Shorty what that segment is, but I have a little bit of a twist that they don't know about, and the
Uh-oh.
questions I will be asking them they also don't know. But we'll get to that later towards the end of the stream. But first, I mean, this is kind of I'll kind of preface what we're talking about here, and it's kind of inspired from yesterday. For those who didn't know, I was on the Cuppa podcast with the British Irish guys for their podcast yesterday, which was extremely fun, by the way. Probably the most fun I've had in a while. Not saying I don't have fun on this podcast, I do. But it was fun to just be able to sit there and be asked questions and then to talk about yourself, which is apparently something I clearly like doing because I would not shut up and they had to be like, okay, Import, let's refocus you on this next question here. it was,
it
it
was
was,
it was my
oops.
favorite part though. I mean, I listened to it at work today.
Mm.
and it was just delightful how you'd keep talking, but it was entertaining very
Yeah,
much. So I
uh,
appreciated
I
it.
was embarrassed afterwards. I was like, man, like, but they asked me one question you cannot ask me is how did you get started into esports and how did you get to Trackmania?
Oh, that's
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, you don't ask me that question. I was like, where do I start?
Yeah, that's
Because
like a full episode
it
alone
is. It
already.
literally is. I could make an entire like 30-minute long YouTube video about my entire history. Like it's that
Do that.
extensive.
It was super
Now,
interesting. I listened to it and I was hoping for the segment to go on even longer because it was so interesting to just kind of listen to where you got
yeah.
started and where like everything this entire thing started. It was cool.
Yeah, and I mean, uh, funny thing is, like, even though it was like very in depth at certain parts, there was a lot of parts I like skipped over. So there's still more stories to tell in the future for sure at some point and down the road. But it's not about me today. It's about teams in general, teams in Trackmania, just kind of what teams are up and doing. And of course, I when I thought about this topic, because I thought about this topic before Toble, I invited Toble because from the British Irish podcast, I mean, like they're making content. They run their own competitions and everything. They have there's teams within the British Irish community. They are considered content creators. A content creator is not somebody who simply just streams or makes YouTube videos, but a content creator can be a lot of different things. It could be a team, it could be an org, it could be somebody who just organizes an event. That's content creation because you're creating content for people to consume. Ex- Exhibit A right here. All three of us right here are doing content creation. We're doing something for you guys to be able to consume and enjoy. Um, and the reason why I wanted Tobel on here is because his team is from my personal perspective, I think his team is grown significantly. And I've told Tobel this before because we had a long, like 4 hour conversation one day, and it was one of those things where, I see a lot of what Split does that Evo has done, and I see things that Split does that Evo could have done or didn't do for good reasons or bad reasons. So uh, it's cool to see how Split's journey has so far, and we'll get more into that later. But content creation, I think, is something that the process of it is something that's kind of not really necessarily talked about. It might be some boring for some people, um, but we'll go around the table here and talk about it. I've already shared so many things about content that I've created, but Shorty, you've been around Trackmania for a while, and you
Mhm.
are effectively a content creator in Trackmania, and you do streaming, you've done competitions and everything. You've done a podcast before this podcast even existed. When you do those type of things, do you like just explain to everybody how much preparation goes into every single bit of what you do? Sometimes it may, even if it seems insignificant to you, like there is preparation. So maybe delve into that a little bit.
Yeah, I do like 30 minutes of mental preparing of doing a stream before. No, uh, I mean, to be fair, I think with streaming, uh, obviously I've done some streams before the new game even came out,
Right.
and I had like 0 viewers for for the beginning, so I didn't really continue streaming until the new game came out and until the OK Boys really became a thing. So basically, I really kind of started where I already knew I would have a couple of people watching. At least I don't mind if it's like 10 or if it's like 20. I'm just looking for chat interaction because if I have 0 people, I'm the type of person I'm gonna be thinking about that, and then I'm just not gonna enjoy streaming and rather do it alone.
Yeah.
Because that's just the kind of person I am. I know there are people that can literally have fun streaming for 0 viewers, and I admire them because I think that's also kind of maybe the point of view you should have more or less. But yeah,
Mm.
I don't really plan most streams. I think usually I just be like, yeah, maybe I should stream again, and I don't really have content. I'm not right now at least. I kind of want something that I really enjoy that I can also do stream. So I'm gonna try it random map survival now again.
Okay.
I hope that's gonna. Otherwise, though, it's really just very rare streams. Like when I have something I want to do, like building a Kacky map, for example, was really good. I just had the time. I wanted to do it now. I felt like okay, this is something that is gonna work streaming because mapping, for example, in general is hard for streaming, in my opinion, because mapping is a creative thing. And
Right.
with creative things, sometimes you just have a blockage after like, I don't know, 30 minutes and you're like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I need to stop and do something else. And if you're not a proper streamer like others and you don't have other content lined up, then
Yeah.
that's not gonna work perfect. That's not gonna be great then. So yeah, that's kind of the way I do it. Like nothing is planned. Everything is just super spontaneous. And be like, yeah, got this map. I have a clear plan. I know I can do this for like longer than 30 minutes. Then I'm gonna stream something.
Yeah.
I
And go ahead, Toby.
sorry, I can't map for longer than 30 minutes, which is why my only map that I've ever made is bad.
Maybe you just didn't find your style, you know? Like,
Yeah,
Maybe.
possibly.
I found my style. It's dirt ice soups everywhere. So
those
and
are
everybody hates
perfect.
it. Yeah. So
Don't
is that a
change
that's my
style?
style.
Okay,
It
I
is
should
the
not
best.
say that. I should be the last person to say, is that a style?
As a religious
Should not
ice
do-
player, it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. I love dirt ice soups, and literally are in the Christmas campaign. Uh, my map is literally just dirt ice soups, like 3 of them, and then an outside dirt turn, and that's it. Which is a copy of a map I made previously long ago.
I
But
think I know the map.
yeah, it's Vinox Bicada, and it plays the song in a loop over and over again, and everybody hates it. But I did that intentionally to drive people insane and mission success because people hated me and DM'd me so many times. They're like, "I hate you." It's like, yes, thank you.
Perfect.
But no, so like Shorty, because the reason why I pointed out to you is because obviously the title says as a team, but it's important to highlight from a singular perspective. And the term that people use, the term I'm going to use is typically used in a negative term, but I don't think it is necessarily negative in this connotation. But when you're doing these type of things where you like, for you example, you want to have viewers, you want to be able to interact with people, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that feeds your ego, and not ego as in like egotistical, like you think better of yourself, but ego in the way of that, like it feeds your it feeds you like social energy, whatever, personal energy, to the point where it's like it's something that you want to please people, and you want people to be happy with what you're doing, and you want people to see what you're doing, so it feeds your ego. And I feel like that's a core part of content creation, is from a singular person perspective. Like, you can't tell me that with like the bigger TM streamers like Spammy, Virtual, even like the pro players like Moss or Granati, they get their ego fed from so many people enjoying their content or enjoying their successes in the game or what they're doing. That feeds their personality, that feeds them what they want to be able to do and continue to do it so that they can get more of that dopamine hit. It's harder to do when you're a smaller streamer. It's harder to do when you're starting at zero, because you don't get that dopamine hit, because you look at these other people and you think, oh man, they're like, I would never get to that point. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm the realist and pessimist of the group. I feel like in a lot of things, but like, reality is you likely won't ever get to that point that they do, because it's pure luck and right time, right place type of deal for you to get that big. I mean, you could have the highest quality content ever produced, but it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get noticed for it. But as far as content creation, as a personal view, so it feeds the ego, it's for personal gratification, it feeds all those things. But Toble, you are your team is rising up in Trackmania. It's definitely exploded in the last couple months, especially considering the fact that your team, every cup of the day, it used to be our team. It used to be Evo showing up in cup of the days every day. Now it's your team showing up in cup of the days every day, because you guys have been picking up people left and right. But you guys also need to be able to keep those players active and also the people who are interested in your team active and engaging. So from a team perspective, maybe you can explain what content you guys have to create to be able to keep those people active.
Well, content, like for specifically in the team, we've been working on stuff to actually do within the team, just with the members themselves. And as you said, we've grown massively. I mean, we've recently picked up players like Pricey for a full speed team. We've got an ice roster now. We've got like we're growing. It's kind of overwhelming even for me personally.
Mhm.
And yeah, we have actually since Aaron recommended it to do some internal events at that same point where we
True.
talked for like 4 hours about this team building thing. We have kind of started doing that. We played some Gardic Phone and then Jackbox, for example. But we are looking to possibly create like an internal tournament, kind of how we're like making regular tournaments, fairly regular tournaments outside of in Trackmania for the public right now, and we just kind of want to make an internal tournament, see how things are going. But other than that, voice chats are fairly regularly actually active, especially on the academy team. The academy team is incredibly active on that, and so yeah, we're happy with the engagement, and we're hoping to do even more in the future.
Yeah, and I mean it's just a small part of it, right? Because I mean, the majority of the stuff that you highlighted is internal, which is important to keep your team active and your players active. Something that Evo has also tried to do, still tries to continue to do, but with the scope of projects that we do at this point, with XPEvo and everything, the time that would be taken normally to run an internal event is taken away from when it comes to an event that serves not just teams or players but an entire community of all sorts of walks of preferences in terms of content consumption versus playing and competitive. And I think like for us personally at Evo, our transition definitely occurred in 2022. Trackmania, I would mention it all the time. But we started with online events. Me and Chris, we were the warriors. I say me and Chris because I think Chris can agree that it was literally me and him just like forcing through so many events. We had Evo Full Speed Survival, we had Ice Weekly, we had Dirt Weekly, we had Evo Ice Cup.
I
Like
mean, Snick's helped a lot with organizing and getting EFS
Evo
off
Full
the
Speed,
ground.
sure, but the rest,
Yeah. Ice
no.
Cup 2,
Yeah.
Ice Weekly, Dirt Weekly.
We ended up having to take over Evo Full Speed Survival towards the end, though.
Yeah.
And like through Ice Weekly, Dirt Weekly, Dirt Invitational, Evo Ice Cup, and then through all of that, we were also planning Tracadia and everything. And like what me and Chris, I feel like realized is that we enjoy doing online events. We always claimed that we were the biggest community, Trackmania community, the independent Trackmania community. What's the point of being the biggest independent Trackmania community if there's no content for those outside to consume? It's cool being the biggest team in a way, but you also like when people see the biggest team and when people see the biggest team having fun, they want to join. But when you're the biggest team, you have to at some point you get to a limit where it's like we can't take any more people, otherwise we're going to explode. And there's no way we can track all these people to prevent from causing us issues that may become PR problems in the future uh, or whatnot or whatever those happen. That's another topic for another day. We're talking about content creation here specifically.
And
But
I
yeah,
just
go
want
ahead.
to say, yeah, I mean, with Evo being like, I mean, not just arguably, I think pretty much the biggest independent team. I think a big reason why Evo grew to that size was like the servers, the regular events, and all
Yeah.
of the engagement with the community. And you know, like I myself also like we as Split, we've hosted a couple of things, and you said that for the beginning you worked on a lot of those events, like as you and Chris, and I think I've told you this before, but for Split Tag Teams, the first event that Split ever did, and like the biggest event Split did this far, it was basically me and Kachen, and then like a little input from some of the other guys now, but yeah, I mean, I scheduled all of the matches by hand and like streamed everything and casted it all, and so yeah, I can like it is
Draining.
yeah, I mean, it was a solid like 2 or 3 weeks of coming home after work and just scheduling new matches, working on graphics for the next weekend, keeping up with all of the competitors and updating everything, so everything's up to point and there's no issues. And then like you have those teams that are like, oh, we can't actually play around this time, and then you have to find some way to have them all like scheduled properly so you can show all of the matches on a stream. And yeah, it is very draining, but it is kind of fun to do as well.
Yeah, well, you get a dopamine hit from it, right? You get a dopamine hit when it especially when it's something successful. Like, and I think that's what kept like me and Chris to continue to do a lot of events, was because like we would get a dopamine hit because after each event. To be fair, though, the reason why our events were Import's whole life for dopamine hits. I mean, I try to live by the motto "fun per hour." But the idea is that like me and Chris, we put a lot of effort into the events. We wanted to make sure they were high quality. We wanted to make sure that everybody was going to enjoy them, because we knew that since we were coming from the largest servers that were being played on, and the expectation that since this is the largest org in Trackmania independently from a streamer or a team, like a professional team, that's there's going to be a certain quality that needs to be met to kind of live up to our size and what we're doing. If we're a big place, but if we're a big org and we have a lot of players, but we don't have the quality, we're no better than current developers. Where they have a decent sized player base, but they don't know what to, well, they should know what to do with it, but they don't utilize it properly.
Let
And
me butt in here really quick. I mean, if you've been following our streams for, I would say, the past 1.5 years, I think we've improved a lot since we did our first live stream, which was the EFS finals, which you and me and CD did together.
correct.
Then we had Evo Ice Cup 2, which was a little bit of a mess. I agree. Just, things happen.
It wasn't a mess because of the stream, though. It was a
No,
mess for
it was
reasons.
just because we were doing too many things at once. But what I wanted to say is, we've always held ourselves to a specific standard and always continued, or at least tried to improve upon the things we do. Especially when it comes to like production quality on the stream, adding like new graphics, better stuff, intro videos, just all those kinds of things. And it has evolved a lot, and I think we're at a point where it is pretty good, but wait till XPEvo and get your minds blown. This is all I'm gonna say.
Sorry, the military I live at is also doubles as an airport base, and I think a massive plane just landed. So
I wanted to ask what just happened. You just
I just heard this. I just heard this
shuffled
giant like freight train sound, and that typically means it's an airplane. But it's also been storming today, so I was looking at that. But it's actually like sunsetting right now, so it's not a storm. So anyway, sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
But,
and if you don't mind me adding that, like you've said, you are holding yourself up to an extreme standard, kind of.
Yeah.
And I feel that in the sense that like Split's first event, and I've been like I've actually had worked on this event when Iconia was still a thing, and I wanted to make this like the best thing I could ever, and so I like developed an entire format and everything for it, and I think that went pretty well. But now the problem is like due to how much like work I've actually put into this for the next follow-up events and for everything we do, I kind of wanna or need to try to kind of keep to that standard or raise it even, and that's just kind of been hard. Yeah.
I'm wondering. I mean, you kind of started the topic with keeping teams engaged, or what kind of events do you run as a team? But I think kind of as soon as you start hosting events, not for your community, but hosting events for like everyone, I think you're not really only like quote unquote only, but you're not really a team anymore, but you're kind of an organization or maybe even a brand, like basically what Evo is now. Like all the events that Evo is running outside of Evo is basically what a tournament organizer does and is kind of separated from the original community process. Because a community is always internally organized, and obviously Evo is really big, and with the size of Evo, I think I can understand that you wanted to do things. Like you saw the interest is there, so you went for the interest of why people join Evo, not necessarily with the thought of, okay, we want to do something only for the people in Evo because you noticed it's getting too big and people join because there is just not enough content in general in Trackmania.
Well, I mean, it's the biggest thing that happened is like we started the casual team in 2021 in summer, and the core group of casual team members, it was a small group of like what, Chris, 12 people, 13.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So around there, and it was a really like tight knit group of people. But eventually, because we were having this is the thing about the fun per hour mentality, or like having a lot of fun as a smaller team, is that people see that and they want to be a part of that. And we had no issues of like expressing how much fun we were having because we had the servers, so we'd all hop in servers and start raiding servers and like messing around and stuff. Like we would have fun doing stuff. And so people were always interested in joining, and eventually we got to the point where it's like, yeah, we definitely want to start adding people, because the casual team was an idea to be able to pull the focus away of Evo being a hardcore competitive team. We still wanted to keep our competitive teams. We still want to be known as a competitive team and have good players. But with the amount of users that we had participating um, in our servers, that it's like we have so many people interacting with us server wise. Why can't we should be able to utilize that power as Toble turns completely yellow.
Yeah, no,
Um,
sorry, I turned my light up so my camera has some decent frame rate, and it took a second to adjust there.
yeah, but I mean, the idea behind all of that was to what happened was when we grew all those people. This is where the point I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get there. This is what the issue I had with British Irish Cuppa podcast. I would like get on a thought, and then I would go off for a side tangent to come back, and I'd forget where I was trying to come back to. I remember though. The point is that our casual team grew, our group grew, and as it grew, there was demand internally, not just for internal events, but also competitions, things to do. Like I'm sure Toble, your team's like, so can we do this competition? Can we do a competition? Maybe we should hope a competition ourselves. I'm sure you've gotten at least some of that here and there. Like you're at that point where you're about to get to that point.
We're probably gonna get to that point. No,
Yeah.
I think I've kept it at bay a bit by telling them that we want to work on it, and I've talked to the other staff members, and we definitely want to work on it. It's just possibly like we've kind of been haven't had the time yet because we're planning some other rather big things for next year. So yeah, we haven't gotten to it yet.
I think for our team, our perspective was like, we made servers. Why can't we do this other thing? Because I mean, Evo's been around since longer than Trackmania 2020, so it's like, if we can do this, we can surely do this. Why not try? And we would try, and then we would see that we were successful to a larger extent. And then we're like, okay, well that was super cool. Let's try this, and we kept on trying and trying. And then at some point, we ended up with like 3 competitions running at a time, with their weekly being 20 weeks long. And then in the meantime trying to plan Trackmania with Arcadia Hotel, and that was rough. But
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I feel like Split in that regard is kind of different in the sense that everything that kind of happens on Split content-wise is meticulously planned by everyone. Like for anything that happens, all like most of the staff members, mainly it's me, Kachen, Johan Klan, and XPEvo also. We all sit in voice chats and talk about the new the plans and the stuff, and so I think that's kind of one thing that we might be doing right. I mean I can't tell yet. I'll be able to tell at some point, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are in a definitely like an experimental phase, and like we still are too, to an extent. Like XPEvo is still a massive experiment. Like it's it's our first independent event that we're running. Yeah, we have Experian as a partner, but they've given us the reins to control like 75%, 80% of what's more than that even. I feel like we're controlling pretty much everything minus like a couple like very small details here or there. And
We
so it's
we pretty much have complete creative freedom when it comes to the
yeah,
event.
yeah.
And um, also, I just want to circle back a little bit to the bunch of events that we were running. Just to point out um, that Aaron and myself actually realized, hey, we cannot keep doing this by ourselves.
Yep.
We needed help. And that's why we, for the longest time, didn't have a Dirt Weekly Season 2, or why there still hasn't been Full Speed Survival Season 2, even though we wanted to do it. It's just that we need additional hands. And I just want to give out a shout out to Ven and Pally for hosting Dirt Weekly and Invitational Season 2. They did a great job. Very happy that they carried on the
They did a
torch
great
with that
job.
regard.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Sam Sim and Snex, who are doing Full Speed Weekly now for, well, they started last Saturday.
Yep. First week was last week, and they'll be doing something similar. We I think and the things that they're doing is a continuation of things that have we started in 2022. And like for example, the Dirt Weekly that Polly and Ven took over, um we we were able to kind of help them guide it, because at one point Evo had a dirt team. Nobody else had a dirt team, but Evo had a dirt team. And yeah, because we at that time we were trying to have a team for each style, because we thought maybe at that point in Trackmania maybe there was going to be like people who just like were hardcore into a style, and there would be communities based on that style. That never panned out to be. It just happened to be ice and full speed, and the rest is history essentially. The
Attack
the
is kind of struggling to survive, but it's not dead yet.
It's not dead yet, but it gets easily muddled in the mixed community all the time. So that's the issue with tech. I feel like Azil and others can disagree, but that's how I think the majority feels. But the main point I have is like Dirt Invitational. Me and Chris realized like we did way too much. It was 20 weeks, and then we had like a full on Dirt Invitational afterwards. Way too much time. It lasts 20 weeks is insane. That's almost half a year of time spending doing a weekly event, um, and keeping track of all the participants, all the scores, everything. Doing that every week, getting maps lined up for each week. We had a couple breaks in between, but still, it was insane.
Yeah. Maps are definitely the hardest part about competitions, in
Yeah.
my opinion. It's just you go around asking mappers for, can you make a map, or can you make a map, and then it's just like, oh, I'm busy, or they tell you, yeah, I can make a map, and then you don't get a reply. That happened once to us. It was actually a reason we had I can say this real quick. So last Split Masters Monthly, the bobsled maps. Originally, we planned to do plastic. However, one of the plastic guys that was supposed to make a plastic map, he just said he would make a map and then never responded to us again.
The typical.
And so we had to actually ask Emlyn and Billion if they can, make their maps an entire month earlier. And Billion went on a like 5 or 6 hour all-nighter to finish the scenery for his map, just so it can be ready for the competition. And so that was incredibly stressful, but we somehow pulled that off. So
I mean, I don't know how we pulled it off for 20 weeks, but either way, the point I was getting to is that like we basically told Ven like Ven and Polly, shorten it, don't overcomplicate it, and just do your best to make sure the maps are quality. And I like me and Chris still help them on occasion for some stuff. Like I helped test some of the maps and made sure they were like okay, and like pretty decent.
I mean,
And
Evo has a lot of mappers at the team itself, so
true,
that
yeah,
that's
probably
a
helps quite
big
a bit.
plus. Yeah,
we have a large like we still sort of do. It's kind of in a weird limbo state at the moment, I'll have to be honest, but like we have a large affiliation of mappers that are either actual Evo members or part of other teams that participate in a lot of our stuff, like our campaigns. That's another thing we did in 2022. We did two campaigns, two full-on campaigns.
they were great though. They were
Yeah,
great.
like the campaigns were great. We had like full content released for them. Like the fact that we did like the Evo campaign with like full on content release video by Veritas and like other stuff for that. Then we had the Pride campaign with the Pride skin, with the Pride like fundraiser. We also had the Christmas advent calendar, which obviously is like Team A has their own advent calendar, but we had our own this time. And we released a map each time. It was like things that we did on top of the other things we did, and it was a lot. And like Chris was saying, going back to what Chris was saying, is like it's you have to have people to help do those things, and it gets to the point where it's like. So for XPEvo, for example, we're at 30 over 30 staff members at the moment, and half of us are Evo, half of us are not, because we've had to reach out and reach out to other people and be like, hey, can you please help us? We're looking for like some production, some casters, some staff, TOs, volunteers, whatever we can get our hands on, because it's like this is a community event. The community has high expectations for us, and like we have high expectations for ourselves, and we hope that you understand. And the most bizarre thing about it is I feel like everybody is on the same page, which is really hard when everybody's doing it out of their own goodwill. So from an organizer perspective, you have to be very careful on how much you push, very careful on how much you ask for, and be understanding that everybody at any point in time could just say, "Deuces, I'm out. See ya. I don't want to do this anymore."
Yeah.
We did have somebody do that to us. So
Okay.
like, yeah, it
Um,
was a critical piece of infrastructure ended up happening to kind of just go out the window. But like we have backup plans, which is another thing. Always important.
Yeah,
Backup plans,
very,
Toble. Don't
very,
forget
very
that.
important. No, we're doing that. We're trying our best. No, you've talked about staff, and like that's one thing that I am still currently trying to do. We're trying to get staff members on Split, and it is just so hard. Yeah, because many people, I feel like they don't really think they can do it, and it's just a thing. You don't need to have experience if you want to be a staff member somewhere.
No.
It's just you need to be willing
Learn
to
and
learn
do.
and do. Yeah,
Learn
that's
and
the
do.
things. And because we as Split, we would love to do more events, both internal, external, and be able to do more things like make videos and stuff. But we're all just so busy with the stuff we're already doing and our personal lives that it's just we
Yeah.
don't have the capacity to do much more right now.
And I feel
yeah.
like sorry, but I feel like people also have this expectation of like the issue that I've consistently run into so many times, and I've ran into it even at for XPEvo. I've run it plenty of times beforehand, where everybody's like, "Yeah, I'll help. I'm here. I'm definitely down to help. It sounds fun." And then you're like, "Okay, yeah. So here's a task that really needs to be done. Like honestly, like you're gonna have to figure out how to complete it, because like I could do that for you. I could tell you how to do it but by the time I've explained it to you, I've basically already done half the work for you, and I might as well just do it on my own. So it's really rely on you, the individual, to be able to one figure out just learn what you need to learn on your own, but two, just do it. Like I'm the type of person do it and ask for forgiveness later. Like, like if somebody's upset about something that I've done, it's like I'm sorry, but like I felt like it seemed logical and needed to be done. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't,
Yeah,
and that's the way of life.
that's the same mentality I've gone as I've opened up my small business on this side. It's kind of like I'll try this out. Let's see if
Yeah,
it pans out. And like I haven't really started too much work on it yet, and I've already been busy with stuff there. And it's it's kind of taken a little bit of the time away I would love to spend on the game, but yeah, I'm trying.
yeah. But outside of that, I think it's like there's so many things we could talk about and continue to talk about that like
Mm.
teams can do to active engage. And I think the biggest thing is we just said it at the very end. I think it's the best way to summarize it for anybody who's wanting to grow a team, for anybody who's wanting to make content and wanting to get themselves out there and be noticed, or whatever drives you that you want to be successful, whether it's in Trackmania or anything in life. You just first do your research, do the research that you need. Don't flood yourself with information, because then you're going to start making false assumptions on things. I feel like you have to be able to kind of get the basic understanding and then build off of that basic understanding and do what you need to do. Because if you get too much in depth, you'll only stick to one singular plan. It'll become static and not dynamic. You won't be able to necessarily grow from that. So whatever plan or idea you have, take the basis, get the basic understanding of that idea, and then just go for it. You're gonna fall flat on your face. That's fine. That's what should happen. Like on some of these things, it should happen that you fall flat on your face. As long as you're able to get back up and continue going, you're eventually going to find success in a way. It may take you longer. Some people might find it immediately. Some people do find it immediately. Sometimes some people find it longer down the way. This is a life lesson in general as well. So
Yeah.
just like understand, life
mean-
lesson. Just do.
Yeah,
Just do it.
I feel like Split, of course, we got lucky. We had a great player base to start with, and that's kind of where we built upon. But another thing that you need to consider, I think, that we can add to kind of what you just said is once you actually have something going,
Yeah.
another very important part is that you all kind of keep up to date on what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't be just communicating through text and hoping everyone reads everything.
Yeah.
Like, we for Split, for example, like at least once a month or more, we all sit in a voice chat and we just update each other on what's happening. Like the team leaders, we get we try to get as many of them as possible in, and they tell us like what's the plan. Are we recruiting? Are we like is there any players that are doing worse? Is there anything going on? Is there academy players we could move up to the main team, or vice versa? And I feel like that's just kind of important to stay on top of things and kind of be
you
on
need
the
to know
same
what's
page,
happening, especially when you get bigger. You have to be able to trust people, even if they don't necessarily do like what occurs in your mind as something that should be done a certain way will never be the same way that some people think. Sometimes your goals align, sometimes they don't. But it's always important, especially when you're bigger, that like you have to one put faith and trust in other people to do, be able to lead and do. And some people just aren't natural leaders, and you find those out pretty quickly. And eventually, they move on with their lives and they go do something else. And you find somebody who can actually lead. But outside of that, as you have to keep tabs and you have to keep communication open. Otherwise, it is going to be rough. But
yeah. I mean,
I mean, the
for
amount of information just gets overwhelming at some point, and even if you can still probably like try to read everything yourself, that's just not healthy.
yeah, no,
Just
it's
don't.
I mean, I know for Split Tag Teams, our biggest event yet, and our first one as well, we have an entire Discord server with just the mappers, playtesters, and like then the people kind of working on it just to be able to, it's just so we were able to kind of stay on top of things, which maps are done, which maps are tested, who's testing the maps, who's making the maps. The mappers were communicating within themselves, and that was kind of really nice. And we did actually meet in voice chat with the mappers and stuff a few times, and I think that helped majorly. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Chris, I just messaged you, but I guess I'll just say it in the stream. Could you possibly bring up the split cup things?
Yeah, sure. Give me a second.
Oopsies. The
Cool.
dings.
So we're gonna take a small intermission from this very deep, enticing team stuff and move on to other things. And once Chris pulls it up, I will give the biggest plug of my life to 31 viewers.
Better
But
than nothing.
but before I do that, how about this? Hey, if you didn't realize XPEvo is going to be happening on September 22nd to the 24th. If you haven't bought your ticket already, we still have basic and tournament tickets already. And we've already done a super cool map pack event with a bunch of influencers. Hopefully you saw that. If you didn't, you should definitely go check that out because some people like Spam may have a YouTube video of that event happening, and it was really fun. It was chaotic on one half, it was really cool on the other, and it was overall just a lot of fun and oddly successful despite all the stress that I had and anxiety. You can ask Chris. I was freaking out the day of that event.
I saw you on Twitter, kind of freaking out on Twitter.
I
That was
was
funny.
heavy breathing for 3 hours straight.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I
it
heard you
was.
talking about it yesterday in the other podcast.
Yeah, it was massive panic is what I had. But anyways, we have another collab going on with Splits. That's also why Toble is here, because we're having a pretty big collab. Splits is going to be having their Split Masters Monthly. It's their cup that they have. They have a cool small prize pool. It's going to be on the 2nd of September, and they're going to be doing XPEvo maps. That's why it's the XPEvo edition. It's going to be Kush and Sliced Fluns. Kush by Roxy and Sliced Fluns by Doogie. Interesting maps that you picked, by the way.
Yeah. I feel like Kölsch. I mean, we had to pick Kölsch. I mean, obviously for the even if it's just the poster child uh, for this one. I mean, how can you not put this map as
It's
the poster?
great.
It
It's
looks
great.
beautiful. And I'm gonna be honest, Sliced Friends was Kachen's decision. So
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting, because that is the most like controversial map in the entire map pack. Probably
we like.
I mean, I like it. I don't have issues with it. Well, I do, but
Which one was it actually?
We can
that's
give people
Doogie's map.
giving people some extra motivation to practice the map, I guess.
Drift into
with
ice.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, tech drift into ice, where you drift down to gear 2, and it can be pain. But ironically enough, my only issue with that map is the dirt section after the ice, because the dirt section is sad. It creates sadness on so
I
many
think
levels.
you're wrong.
You really?
I don't know. I have zero issue with the. I mean, the exit of the dirt is maybe a bit, but the dirt tone itself is fine.
I just feel like it's a little too wonky.
You should have tried. You should have tried the old dirt, man. you would cry.
Like old dirt as in like his old version, or old dirt as in TM2 dirt?
TM2 dirt.
Oh, I love
Like
TM2
if they,
dirt.
yeah, but that's way more bumpy.
Yeah,
Way
but that's
so
that's
much more
part of
bumpy.
the
that's
fun.
that's part of the fun with TM2 dirt.
Yeah, TM2 dirt was amazing. I miss it,
And the
actually.
cars had like actual suspension, so like even though it was bumpy, like the cars like had a little way of dealing with it. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like when people were porting TM2 dirt maps into Trackmania 2020
But
with
that's
the
not
current
because of the
cars,
suspension.
isn't that because of the suspension though? Because like
No,
they're
it's
super
because
rough.
it's because the new car in TM2 Stadium in TM 2020 got more grip at low speed. That's the only physics change there is. Apart from the underbelly of the car, I think maybe is also a little bit lower, and that also obviously makes it worse. But
It's just pain either way. Playing
Yeah.
the TM2 dirt on Trackmania 2020 was
yeah,
it was fun, but it was pain. But yeah, cool
Yeah.
maps that we're gonna be seeing on Split Masters Monthly. Toble, do you have any comments about the event that we're running together?
I actually
mean,
have a question.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm,
go
I'm
ahead.
about in. So for those that don't know what Split Masters Monthly is, could you just explain the format of it really quick?
Yes, I was gonna get into that actually. So Split Masters Monthly is obviously our monthly cup, as the name implies heavily. So it's hosted on the first Saturday of every month at 6 p.m. It's a server that everyone can join for qualifiers. Do keep in mind you should probably be on our Discord server for this. Just have access to it. And we always have a €60 prize pool on it, €30 for first, 20 for second, 10 for third. And the way it works is first we have this open server, everyone can join, and it starts shortly after 6 p.m. And then it's 5 rounds on one of the maps, 5 rounds on the other. And you kind of get your seating spot that way. The special kind of thing is that first and second in seeding skip the first round. Then third to sixth. If I didn't get that completely incorrect, 3, 4, 5, 6, yes, third to sixth go into the upper bracket in the first round, and the rest of the players go into the losers bracket in the first round. And then we have this 4-player rounds format where it's every two rounds on one map, it switches to the next map, and at the end the top 2 players move on, and the other 2 drop either down to losers bracket or are out of the tournament. And so it makes for this really short kind of event that 10 people could qualify for still. And so in the end we're looking at around 2 hours of if the matches are close, 3 hours of playtime. All of the upper bracket matches are streamed. The lower bracket matches are not, at least except for lower bracket finals. And you get a small prize pool, small incentive, and it's just kind of a fun thing to do for a few hours on the Saturday.
Is it cup mode? Regular cup mode format?
It's collecting. It's just collecting points for every round. Yeah.
But with finalist mode.
Yes, with finalist mode. Yes, of
Okay.
course. It makes for some very tense moments. We had I think in the very first one we had an incredibly close snipe keeping someone from winning. Legit, we didn't even see him coming. He was just there all of a sudden. I think there's a clip of it on our Twitch channel, split_TM, if I'm not incorrect. Either that or Team Split. That was cool. That was a cool clip. But yeah, that's essentially the format of it, and usually it's casted by me and someone else.
Sounds good.
But this time it's going to be casted by me and you, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
But you
I
are
believe
someone
That was
else.
the plan. That was the plan.
That was the plan.
Yeah. I'm actually.
I believe I haven't casted since when was the last time I casted? It was sometime. It was TMCL with Twiggy. That was actually the last time I did a serious cast.
Oh.
So
It's
I don't
gonna
know
be
if we're doing
exciting.
I don't know if we're doing serious cast, but
Semi-serious. I
All
love I love actually kind of calling what's going on in the match, but then having these
I love
less
bantering.
tense. Yeah, bantering.
Yeah.
We can do bantering, everything, the whole 9 yards. The thing is, one story I can tell really quick. During split tag teams, even I usually I cast the first few things with XLRB, and XLRB at one point, a few days before the next matches, was like, oh, I can't make it. I was like, oh shit, I gotta get a caster, and so I DM'd a bunch of people that do casting, and I think the only one that responded was you, and you said you don't have time. It's you are on vacation, and then
At
I
least
ended
you
up.
responded.
Yeah, at
You
least.
yeah.
responded.
And then
Everybody's like, "Ew, Toble," and I'm like, "I know." Well, I didn't really know who you were, but I knew what you were doing, and I knew XLRB was doing stuff with you, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I would love to, but."
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's getting to a point where people maybe start to recognize my name a little bit more. But
Well,
when
yeah.
I did Split Masters Monthly, Split Tag Teams, outside of the ice community, I wasn't really a thing at
Mhm.
all, and so I mean that's getting better. I mean, obviously in huge parts because I'm communicating a lot with, or doing a lot with communities outside of ice, obviously, and the kind of having the tag as well when you join servers is just recognizable, and then you kind of remember the name as well. And I mean, I hope I get the people to know who I am, partly for my own ego, of course.
Only
Yeah.
for your ego. What do
Only
you
for
mean
your ego.
partially? Is it just the
I
only
mean,
reason?
I mean, you could always be like Shorty, and he's known for one thing and one thing only. And well, actually, he's known for two
And
things.
what is that?
The two things is that you love backwards and you love being in second place.
Yeah,
Huge
let's
thing.
just yeah,
Huge,
let's just I'll just let it stand like that. I just
huge thing
don't have
about
the
me.
energy.
Huge thing about me is that I'm
It's
always in.
so easy to get his Shorty like every single time. I think I think I've made this joke almost 3 weeks in a row now. I should stop bullying him. His face just looks so sad, bro.
I'm gonna
Don't
force
worry.
you to play my maps one day.
Hey, I
And then
played
I
your.
have
What are you
sweet
talking
revenge.
about?
Yeah,
I played your maps before.
Yeah,
I cannot.
especially the next one. Just wait for it.
I
I have
If it's
cannot
a
no
play
idea
speed
how.
check,
backwards.
if it's a speed check, I'll cry.
It's not a speed check. It's
Okay,
worse.
then I'll play it
Backwards,
easy.
backwards speed check.
No, it's not backwards.
He has made maps that have backwards speed
Oh,
checks, and I've
God.
cried.
That's not
Yeah,
true. I don't
that
have a
would-
speed check.
I thought you had a map that had a speed check with it.
Oh yeah, one, but it was like super easy. Like it
For
wasn't really a
you?
real speed check.
for
Not for
backwards, but
me. I
For
watched
you, bro.
I watched Div 20 and they had no issues clearing it.
Oh,
But I mean, I don't know which
Um,
division you are in, but
I am.
I will have you know, I was in
I know.
Division 1 for
I
that
know.
full speed plastic, speed plastic map the other day.
I was gonna
Really
say, weren't
bad.
you the best Evo full speed player that day?
Of course,
Of
always.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I suck at backwards. I've tried it because like when it was new and the Evo server released and everyone was hopping on the backwards trend, I was like, oh, I gotta check this out. I play this niche style called Ice, and I gotta check out if this backwards thing is something for me. And I quit the server after 15 minutes.
But was it better than full speed? I don't care if it's 15 minutes. Is it better than full speed?
Personally, no, because I actually enjoy full speed somewhat. It's because I'm German. It's in my genes.
I'm also
like-
German.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're not the typisch German, Shorty. Really mad.
What do you mean? I drink more than enough beer. I complain about things.
Actually,
You
that's true.
almost
What do I
weren't
have
on
to do?
time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Shorty, how was the weather for you today? Was it good? Was it bad?
But the weather was pretty good, yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay, you're
kinda
not
hot.
German. You're supposed to say it sucks. It doesn't matter what type of
Weather
weather it is.
always
If it's
sucks.
if it's sunny and beautiful, you gotta be like, ah, the sun's out, my skin. And then if
Yeah, but
it's
I'm-
cloudy, you can be like, ah, the clouds
Yep.
are gonna kill me. Like,
Yeah, but I'm outside so rarely. I just can't really hate the weather. Just
Oh,
That's fair.
it's very important. Like as a German, you always complain about the weather, but when someone else complains about the weather, you tell them there is no bad weather. There's just the wrong clothing.
yes.
wow.
The typical
Yeah,
the
true,
typical
bro.
saying, bro. If like, okay, so when I we'll get to the subject that we're supposed to be discussing in a second here, but like when I look at social media, specifically like Instagram and whatnot, I follow a lot of English speaking like expats into Germany and vice versa and whatnot. And it's always the same freaking thing where somebody always makes a mention about like typical things you find as an expat in Germany, and one of those things is always the freaking like it's not the wrong weather, it's just the wrong clothing meme, or it's like freaking out about the windows and how like insane they are, or
Stoßlüften.
yeah,
Stoßlüften.
it's like it's the same stuff over and over again. And after
feel
4
like-
years of dealing with it, it's like I'm over it.
I feel like a lot of people on this podcast are watching Liam Carp's shorts on YouTube.
Probably, yeah. I'm referencing him. I'm literally referencing
I
him.
literally don't know who that guy is.
Okay, I'll have to link it
so-
to you, Shorty.
Yeah, you gotta
No, I
check
don't
that out.
know. Okay.
Yeah,
But I'm German. I don't want new things. I'm old now.
nah, he's good. He'll hit
What
a
is
lot
this
of.
Instagram? What is this TikTok?
Dieser
I only know-
Instagram hier, es
I only
macht
know
keinen
TikTok.
Sinn, hey?
Yeah,
Es
no,
macht keinen Sinn, dieser Instagram, Alter.
all of his
Diese
TikToks
neue Technik.
always appear on my For You page whenever I scroll through, and it's somehow it's the same joke, but it's been funny for over a year now, so I'm not complaining.
It must be pretty good then.
It's 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 decent. But I think the
All right.
repetitiveness of it is what's funny to me, because
It's
I like
what?
it's decent.
Oh, it's decent. I have no idea. Like, what is the meme? Is that it? Is it decent? Like,
No, the
what's the
memes are
actual meme?
usually like, oh, in Germany we don't say blah blah blah. In Germany we
Oh,
instead say this and
Yeah.
this, or like, oh, look, Deutsche
The
Bahn
train
being
is
late
late.
again meme, or like,
oh, okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to get to Cologne for XPEvo using Deutsche Bahn,
Same.
and
Good luck.
yeah, actually at my company where I work at, I can't talk too much about it. I can just say we repair like some of the stuff for them, but I don't think I should be putting it out on the internet there all too much of what we do.
It's your fault. Everybody, get your pitchforks.
I mean, if you have to report things for the German Bahn, either you have nothing to do or you're perfectly set for the rest of your life.
It's I can tell it's a mixture of both somehow.
Amazing.
Dope. All right. So let's get to the topic on hand. Toble, tell us your TM history. How'd you get into Trackmania? Where'd you start? Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? Where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
So yeah, my first introduction to something like Trackmania was, if anyone remembers the Facebook games, they were great. So one of those was Track Racing Online, and it was just a one-to-one Trackmania clone that had a zombie mode where you drive around in SUVs, and that's the only place where you could drive them. And there were zombies, and you can run them over. And then you also had police cars in there for no reason that were also player controlled. And
It's
I
like Trackmania. Just you know, want to mention that again. You said it's just like Trackmania. Okay,
that's just one
sorry.
of the modes. All right, the rest was legit just Trackmania. So it had like I'm not quite sure. It's a long time ago. It had basically a copy of the entire Nations Forever campaign in it,
Is
and
it legal?
I honestly don't ask me. And you could even build your own maps. And what I used to do, because I was young and dumb, is I built half pipes and pretended I was a skateboarder. Yeah,
Gotta
and
start
then
somewhere.
yeah, and then I didn't really play anything Trackmania for a long time. I like installed Nations Forever a few times, but my PC was potato and it couldn't even run Nations Forever properly. And yeah, then I built this new PC, and Trackmania 2020 released basically immediately after, and I hopped on that, and that was pretty cool. I started playing the game quite a lot, and it's also where I figured out that the Trackmania clone I played was a clone, because I want to figure out what it was that I played all those years
I'm
back.
just looking at it. Literally says Trackmania Nations. Even like it didn't change the signs, anything. It's literally
Yeah, I
just
know
copied
it's a
over tracks.
copy. It's
And oh
just,
my god.
it's
Okay.
just, but it's yeah, you know, it had no, it didn't have, like, it had somewhat of a community, I guess, like 10 people. Nah, it was
What?
bad. No, and so I started playing Trackmania 2020. I played a ton of tech. I met some people like Neon 1990, and I got kind of really invested in that community for a while, like the entire mapping community. And then I kind of got bored of tech, and so I asked Neon, like, what style is really difficult to play? And he was like, oh yeah, I think ice is pretty hard. And then, yeah, then I started playing ice, and then I quit the game for a year. And then I came back and got decent at ice. And then I've gone to being washed at ice again. Yeah, somewhere in the middle there, I also joined Ice Team 34%. And we played ISL together. And I think it was at the end a three-way tie between Evo 34% and Level 1, which never got resolved because Mikey B dropped it. And yeah, now I Yeah, and then we would already go into how Split came to be, if you want me to go into that.
Yeah, let's go to that.
Yeah, so that's kind of where my entire Trackmania history is. It's not too much, other than I just kind of started playing the game. But yeah, after ISL, which was a total success, as one would call it.
It was great.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
loved everything about it, all the players, and
Mhm.
I was like, I can do that, but better. So one big thing I think many people didn't really know happened in ISL, obviously, is that a lot of the players wanted a map pick and ban system for the playoffs. Mainly because we didn't really like some of the maps, and the maps we would have played in the playoffs would have been largely maps we didn't really want to play.
What do you mean you didn't like Crab Rave?
Hey, Crab Rave was great. I loved Crab Rave. This is still one of my favorites, just because of how ridiculous it was. But it has its charm. It was like right after the update, like the first ice update, which I'm still salty about.
Huh? Nothing happened.
I'm still salty about all of the ice updates, honestly. No, but that's not the point here. And I wanted to
Hmm.
make something, and basically there was only two ideas, and that was make it a duo tournament and have a map pick and ban system. And I kind of started slightly building on that idea, like middle to beginning of last year, and yeah, that was around the time when Iconia started being a thing. And so I asked like Bagels if he can help with the with the event I was planning, and he was like, "I can't, but I got someone," and that's kind of how I got to actually almost join Iconia. I had the event orga role on the server, and then I think like you guys definitely know what happened to Iconia. So yeah, that entire thing happened.
Some people may not know. Do you want to?
I don't know how much I want to get into it, but you know, it doesn't really matter. I don't think Exlo plays the game anymore or consumes any content related to it. So the CEO of Iconia was a guy. I think you guys know him, Exlo. Um,
Not really, but I mean, I knew,
uh,
I heard the name.
No.
the name, yeah, the name. He was very very involved. He founded, I think, SDLKS and a lot of the like Slovak kind of Trackmania scene. He was very very involved with that at the beginning, and yeah, he's one thing you have to know about Axlo is that he's kind of a personality, um, not a good one. And so a lot of the thing like he said a lot of controversial things, and the kind of thing tipped over when he went into a cup of the night chat, and I'm quoting him here. All right, it was built by Magi, and he quote said, the more I play this map, the more I hate Twitch female streamers. And that was kind of the point where we were like, all right, man, no, we're not doing this anymore. And
Interesting take.
yes, certainly. And so we all decided. I wasn't even announced as a member of Iconia, and I didn't really have much contact to the other members at that point because I was busy working on the event. And I was still kind of part of that. We're quitting. I put my name on the document as well, with like we're distancing ourselves from that, and I was like, and a few other people from the original team were like, "Are we going to make a new team, or are all of us just gonna split up again into on individual teams?" And I and like a lot of the other people were like, why not make our own team? We have the like synergy going. I have an event like basically lined up, almost ready. Like most of the maps were done with scenery, which was a hassle because we had to change a lot of them. And yeah, that's how we made Split, and basically immediately had this huge event, Split tag teams lined up. which gave us a huge boost like a fairly big boost, and made people think we were an ice team for a little bit for some reason. Yeah. We've just kind of been collecting members since then, which I mean, whenever someone new joins, I get this small dopamine hit. I'm like, oh, well, Split's growing again. Yeah.
I can understand that though. I mean, I think everyone can understand that to some degree. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Like if you see that like +1 somewhere, you're like, oh, nice.
Scores going up. Whoop.
Yeah. I think Split's journey in general and your journey in general, I think, is very interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see, especially like going forward, how it's going to pan out for you guys, especially with like how many crazy players you guys have picked up.
Yeah, it's
And just
insane.
like the skill level that you guys have demonstrated so far. I don't like, I will be honest, I don't feel like you guys have been fully tested yet,
No,
Like,
not at all. I agree.
so I'm interested to see when it comes down to like bigger competitions like EMC and whatnot, what you guys are able to show on the table. For like right now, we can talk about like we're all participating in Racing
Racing Rumble.
Rumble. Yeah,
Yeah.
Racing. I was about to call it Racer Summit. I was like, wait, that's not it.
I'm gonna tell you real quick though, we have played in EMC. We had 3 lineups in EMC last season. So like,
That's fair.
yeah, but our main
But I feel
team
like
was,
you weren't at
yeah.
that full strength yet, like you
Oh
are
no,
like
we weren't.
right
Like,
now, because
no.
especially within the last couple months, you guys have picked up like a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
And like racing rumble,
Racing Rumble.
Racing Rumble.
I also had like some
Uh,
other names in my head there.
Yeah, I think for Racing Rumble, like you guys are showing like really strongly and like just kind of like how strong your lineup is. Although, of course, Shift putting on the full tryhard
Yeah.
roster really mad. Meanwhile, Evo over here, we're all like XDD, kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, Split Purple, our main lineup, has definitely been kind of like absolutely crushing it. I mean, they I think are the only team so far to take a map from Shift even, and have won every other match. I mean, I watched the match that you guys streamed against them, and I mean, especially on like loose surfaces, where like our team is incredibly strong. It's just kind of showing what it can do. But that's kind of the peak of the iceberg. Of course, we have our second lineup, Split White, who are currently struggling a little bit to get into the playoffs of Division 2. We're obviously rooting for them, but it's always a little demotivating when you're not really performing the way you think you can. And then we, of course, have Split Academy, which I'm I'm playing on for this season because they need a nice player.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, Division 3 kind of in the same position as Split White, where we are just kind of currently barely not making the playoffs. But yeah, our main team is absolutely popping off and definitely
I
representing.
mean, the
our
fact
team.
that you have 3 full teams though is insane, considering the fact that we barely scrapped together one. And half of our team, speaking of which, like if you look at our full speed roster, it's me, XLRB, and Griff as like the main 3 full speed players. And we have other Evo players also playing in Racing Rumble that happen to be on other freaking teams. So
I saw that. I was
our
confused.
best full speed players are literally playing for other teams.
It's
Deservedly,
weird.
though, their teams are doing worse. So suck it.
That's
honestly,
karma. That's karma.
That's karma, bro.
when you-
Molotov and Eterna, you guys are no Molotov and Halcyon. You guys are cool and all, but like, suck it. Honestly,
One thing that's like obviously a big boost in our main lineup's performance, especially on full speed, is that we somehow got Switch and Yami, like Switch 999 and Yami,
yeah.
from Rivals, and I still don't know how, like, who pulled the strings for that, like how that happened. That was just kind of like they just joined the server and were like guests for this thing, and I was like, wait, how did we get Shift and Yami?
Let it be known though that Evo beat Split in the full speed. I beat Switch. I just want it to be known. I beat Switch
Yeah, and they
in a full
practiced
speed
for
match.
they practiced for FSM. They hadn't really played the maps at all.
It doesn't matter. I beat Switch. Switch is amazing at any map she touches. It doesn't matter. I beat her.
She is insanely fast, though. Yeah.
And Yami's fault that he wasn't there. He could have been there.
Yeah, no, they have already told us that they now have time and they'll practice the maps. So watch out for our full speed lineup. It's gonna be
Yeah,
good.
we won't beat you
for
guys this
Racing
week. It's okay. Like right now, the full speed lineup is looking kind of rough, especially with this map because this map is dog.
I have
Which is I could go in a rant about Racing Rumble and the map quality, but that's a different story for another
Hey,
Go
day.
for it. Go
I
for
love
it.
the
I
love
want to
the
see
new
that.
ice map. Honestly,
You want to
right?
see me? Do we want to go into a Racing Rumble rant for really quickly?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can. I'll join you. I'll join you. Even.
Okay.
I don't know
okay.
the maps, but I can rant
I
about that map.
wrote. I actually wrote a full on text of my criticism for Racing Rumble already, because for me, I think there's something about the event that is unacceptable, but I will caveat it. So let me pull it up really quickly because I shared it with Speedy to be like, is this okay? Like,
real quick.
should
You
I-
know, while you pull it up, do you mind me talking about the ice maps so far?
Go ahead.
So I do want to say one complaint. Now the first map, obviously built by Burnt Bagels. I like that map. Burnt Bagels. Hello, he might be in chat. He's a staff member as well on Split. He helps out with some of the stuff. But mainly he's just an incredible ice player. And recently, like mapper, even he's really gotten into the whole mapping thing. But one complaint about the map, about his map, it's just that was just kind of tight turn into tight turn into tight turn,
Yep.
and which I was is why I was quite happy when it got voted out and then
That
immediately
very
got
first
replaced.
map, right, is what we're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, that
Yeah.
first map was oof.
Yeah, and then got voted out and immediately got replaced by the same map with a different route, which is it was again just go tight, go tight, go tight, and that's just not what
That was
kind
the
of.
second map was more forgiving though. You have to admit, like
Yeah, it was more forgiving, yes, but it was just go tight, go tight, go tight.
because my biggest issue with the first map was that we have to understand that there's multiple divisions, sure, but there's going to eventually be, because the issue with the format is that like you have to cover so much, and not everybody is going to be there every week for their thing. So you have to have people fill in, and those people who fill in are going to be at immediate disadvantage. And what way to make it worse is basically to completely shut them out of playing, essentially, by doing such an insanely like tight map like the first one, especially with the stupid road border tight sections that you
Yeah,
with
it's
like thin
Is that a
paper thin
left turn
margins.
by any chance?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
seeing it right
Yeah,
now on
I
my
mean,
second screen.
the thing is, for example, like we on Split Academy, we kind of have this issue where we technically have 3 ice players, but one of them always gets superstarred. That would be Benox, and the thing is that then someone has to jump in, and the only one who's like somewhat played that second map, for example, was Kachen, but he couldn't even manage to finish the map most of the time. So it was kind of just me and fellow player Keenus. We were just trying to 2v3 the entire thing, and obviously that's not going to work. That's
Yep.
not happening. Like, as much as like I might be able to drive those good times, Keenus is not quite there. He still has competitive times in Division 3, and then having Kachen not like be able to finish most of the time just kind of makes ice impossible to win for us currently.
I
So
think the only way to win a 2v3 is by playing full speed and being name switch. That's the only way. then it's maybe doable, but still really difficult.
Chris, I'm gonna need you to change the title to Racing Rumble Rant, as I'm about to go in on this.
I just want import to get cancelled, you know?
I'm not gonna get canceled because I've already given them this feedback in voice. It's gonna be half love, half harsh, because like I feel like I even explain why. So I'm just going to preface this with saying that I truly appreciate the work that they're doing, and the
Sure.
effort they put in this event. Like, obviously, it is not easy to run events. Like, we were just talking about it for like 30 to
Yeah,
45 minutes straight.
especially with the size that Racing
Yeah.
Rumble is at, it's
Yeah. And like,
hard.
so we 100% understand that it is insanely difficult to run the events, and especially running a full season with so many teams and so many divisions. It's a lot to track. But this is my personal opinion. It's going to be somewhat harsh, but I really think there's just a major core issue with the competition that needs to be addressed. But please understand me when I say it's all love and care for the future success of this format. Schlumpy, Ice, like, I know you guys are doing a really good job trying to keep it together and everything. Please don't be discouraged by the negative feedback. I know Schlumpy was feeling like a little bit down and thinking like maybe I'm probably like we would still want to do Racing Rumble, but maybe I won't control it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This is a learning experience. Like the first competition is never the like it's going to be
Can
bad.
can I just say this? Like I've come from experience here. It's split tag teams, obviously my first competition, and there was also like people like if you're doing a good job, people will likely not go out of their way and give you like a big list of feedback of what you've done well.
Yeah,
But when
Never.
something is bad, people are going to do that, and that's
100%.
kind of why it sometimes feels like, oh, this thing I've done is so bad because everyone keeps telling me how bad it is. You just have to remember that it's not that bad. People want the event to be good, and what you should do is when people criticize things, you can work on them, and like for future events, you'll keep it in mind. You'll change formats. You'll like hopefully not too much during the event unless it's a real critical flaw. And
Oh, or just be like the
yeah.
game developers and completely ignore the feedback.
Oh,
Um,
you can do that,
yeah, you can do that as well.
but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't, but you could do it. It's a choice. So yeah, let me get into it. So I have a major issue is the where am I at here? So my personally have no qualms with the actual structure of the event. Yeah, it's a lot, the rosters and everything. Those are small things that can be adjusted. They're not an issue. The guest issue obviously is like something that needs to be adjusted as well. There's way too many guests allowed. It can be kind of out of hand, but I know why they did it. And as far as like the loose being basically mixed minus like a couple like tech drifts, I get it, and I think if you want to continue to have a loose side of the events, it should just be a full dirt, full grass, full plastic actual tracks instead of a mix of all three. That way you kind of have like varying styles. But that's not the major core issue. What I have a major issue is with the quality of the maps and the excuses that you guys have had, saying that you've had trouble finding mappers. I'm sure from your perspective that you felt like you reached out in a lot of discords from the roster of accepted mappers. It's clear to me at least that you didn't do your due diligence in this. Let alone so many things have gone by the wayside, even with the new map releases in terms of testing and knowledge on what's acceptable for competition maps. There's been so much poor quality that I feel like coming through with competition maps, so many issues that like it's really unacceptable for a competition because maps are what make and break your competition. You don't need a fancy feedback system to weed out a good map from a bad map. You just need to know what is going to be competitively viable. And if you don't know, you need to get the people who do know, and not just people who are good at the game, but also people who actually know how to provide good feedback on top of that. You can have a lot of good players test your map, but it doesn't mean that they're going to give good feedback.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
definitely a difficult thing,
Yeah.
and I feel like Racing Rumble suffers from too many map syndrome. It's
Yeah.
just the format, in theory, is like a great idea. You have all of these different styles, and teams get to mix kind of their rosters, and have people play together that wouldn't usually. But then you also have this issue of like you need all of those maps for that, and because you have this map ban system, which I think is cool,
I think
but
it's cool too.
yeah, but I feel like for having so many different styles and then having that map ban system on top, and you need to stay on top of having maps, you just run into this issue of trying to get so many maps that, and then you need to get them tested, and then especially like with the ice update that then also kind of happened in there. it just kind of ran into this issue
Yeah.
of most of the maps that were submitted kind of.
Well, they were low
be
quality. They would
taken.
not be. I'm going to be honest. Like this is where the issue is. They are low quality, and they, like, honestly, they wouldn't even be accepted in any other competition that I could think of.
I
They,
mean, Split
like,
Masters monthly maybe, but that's like a fun
well,
event.
that's saying a lot about your event. I wouldn't say that.
What is it? No, come on.
I wouldn't say
we
that.
got good maps, all right?
Yeah.
It's just
So I have a solution though, and this is something that I feel like they did not do, which they should have done. First, for smaller unknown noon competitions without majority backing from a major entity, you need to personally reach out to mappers. Reaching out to a Discord is cool and fine. And reaching out to multiple Discords. You can reach out to TMA Discord all you want to, but
Doesn't
it doesn't
work.
mean they're going to respond. You have
Doesn't
to
work.
directly DM people and be like, yo, we're looking for mappers. We have styles that we need to fill. Would you be interested in filling one of the styles? And emphasize, if you need help on a particular style, go look for those mappers who are in that particular style and be like, hey, look, we really need this. Then, while I feel like some styles have relatively survived well, there were other styles that suffered, and I go through that in here. So, most individuals have all major TM discords muted. So no matter what you do with your pings, they're likely never going to see your ads in the first place. Typically, most of the higher tiered mappers have extras sitting around, extra maps. They have them sitting around, and they can turn out in a faster time, and they're still decent quality. Another thing that I feel, of which I already addressed to both Schlumpy and Ice, is that Evo was never reached out to help with maps. Like I said, we have a big mapping network. We were never reached out to. We could have easily helped out. We would have been able to ping people and said like, "Hey, they're really needing help." Some of our mappers are in there, but yeah, I've only seen two. But for several competitions across FS Dirt and Ice, not only did we pull our own team, but we would reach out to multiple mappers and even mappers for teams for maps if it were our competition. So like Dirt Weekly, we have Evo mappers, but half of those maps, if not 65% of them, were from external outside of Evo. Same for campaign. Like we had a lot of people doing internally, and I think majority were internal, but we had maybe one or two that had a collaboration with outside people. You have to be able to utilize all your resources. The mappers who got in will likely find this offensive, but largely 60% of the maps released are not suitable for competitive play at all. Let alone they wouldn't even be suitable in any other format, in my opinion. From the styles I'm directly familiar with, FS maps wouldn't pass quality checks for any proper FS events, beginner or advanced. I know for a fact they would have never been accepted into Evo Full Speed Full Speed Survival. They wouldn't be accepted in Full Speed Weekly. They wouldn't be accepted in any FMS competition whatsoever. They are riddled with so many issues. It's clear that the mappers are people who have an understanding of full speed, but they don't have the speed to actually properly calculate the maps. They're very poorly calculated, in my opinion.
I would have something that could help them. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes. Let's trigger the entire full speed community with something that you've done. I think the loose
I
maps.
wonder.
The loose maps are quite literally some of the most uncalculated and wonky sadness I've ever played in my life. Tech seems to have some issues, but I'm not skilled enough in tech to be able to point them out. But mixed and ice are relatively fine in my opinion. But for the ice guys, I'm sure they're just happy to have anything in a competition and being able to play ice.
I mean,
So-
I'm not gonna. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Ever since you have been kind of, I don't know if you haven't quite paid as much attention on, but like ice competitions recently, especially, we've had a lot of stuff. Like Monkasteer especially has been pumping out competitions.
Yeah,
like,
but not in this particular venue, though, right?
Yeah,
Ice.
fair.
The thing is, like Ice Gang, and Ice Community, they've always done stuff for themselves, which is cool, and Ice is a huge community. But as far as Ice reaching out into the mainstream community, the only time they typically only get to do that is through Cup of the Day. And when it comes to team competitions, they don't really have that opportunity to have that. And so
Yeah.
Racing Rumble is a perfect avenue for that to happen, to where they're actually able to have an ice competition. So it's pretty big for the ice community
Yeah.
to have an avenue like this. That's why I think the ice maps are they're okay. They're not great, but they
Yeah. No,
they at least
mean,
give ice an avenue outside of the ice game community.
yeah, I feel on the ice maps, the first two were just suffered from tight turn, tight turn, tight
Yeah.
turn.
Which is
And
for ice players is fine because they're typically used to
yeah,
that. But anybody outside of that who is willing to play ice but not at the competitive level that the ice players are willing to play at, that is pain and is just so demotivating.
yeah, and I think like for me personally, it's not kind of the style I like to play. For me, I love technical ice maps, but I like the tight kind of line check ice maps, gear management bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's much more like less gear management
Bullshit.
because the the second ice map was gear hell. But yeah, the new ice map is much more favorable on gears in my opinion, and it just is a more fun line to drive, and it's
Yeah.
not just tight into tight into tight.
Yeah. So so in general, I could name going back to the topic at hand. I could name at least 15 mappers who were not included in this competition. Or not reach out to at all, who would have likely been willing to provide proper maps spanning all 5 styles. There are some competitive players even who are also decent at map building that could have done this as well. And this is an important lesson to everybody who's aspiring to make an event, online event or anything. A map pack is crucial. A clean map pack, a properly tested map pack. Ice, you're here, I know it, and I'm not trying to like single you out. I am, but you were a part of our feedback system, and yes, our feedback system was like very in depth and everything. But you don't need our fancy feedback system. We had our feedback system because we have an event that has a high quality
And there
margin
are
that we
even
have to
some
hit.
negatives about the feedback system as
Yeah,
well, which
and there's
obviously are gonna get
negatives. Yeah.
tackled, but it's not refined yet either.
Exactly. Like there's improvements that have to be done on our feedback system 100%. And like but the main point of it was to try to raise the quality bar as high as possible to make it competitive at the level that it's going to be. And even though this competition may not be close to the competitive level of XPEvo, maybe one day it does get to that point. Who's saying that it can't? But you have to be able to have a feedback system. You have to be able to give feedback and have the quality to level up your competition. When you have a higher quality of maps, that's how you get more people interested. That's how you get more people involved. I mean, there's other elements too. It's not just about the maps, but the maps are one of the core things that can kill a competition. I mean, EMC, for example, they have very good quality maps, and people keep on coming back to EMC because of that. Now they have other things that EMC has an interesting format. You have teams, blah blah blah. There's other elements which I think Racing Rebel has as well. That the thing that sets EMC apart from Racing Rumble, besides the fact that Racing Rumble covers a bunch of styles instead of just mixed, is the fact that EMC has an insanely high quality map pool. And yes, they don't have a bunch of rotating maps, blah blah blah. I got it. You got a lot of maps, but like Racing Rumble can still do the same thing and still be successful.
I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like it's just one thing. If you organize events like that, if you're looking for maps, you just can't be scared to DM the mappers. Like
Yeah.
the mappers won't.
Or tell the mappers that their
Yeah.
map sucks.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I've told
it's hard.
Mime, I've
It's
told
hard.
Mime, I've told Deska, I've told multiple people. I'm like, this map, I've given them a laundry list before, and I'm like, bro, you cannot have this. Like, people are not going to play this. Like, fix it. Like,
It's
Nixotica
difficult.
released a map, and like he released a map that had a massive speed check in dirt, and like it was one of those very advanced dirt competitive maps. The speed check, like you had to have a specific gear at a specific speed to be able to get it cleanly, and almost nobody was able to reach it except for like the top like 3 echelon players of dirt who were able to get that exactly. And I had to tell him, I was like, are you insane? You need to put a block here for people who aren't going to make that speed check. Like there's no way. Like you have to be willing to not only reach out to the people, but you also have to be willing to like confront them and be like, hey, thank you so much for participating in this map, but these changes need to occur, otherwise this map will not be competitive. Like
Yeah.
it just won't be.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I personally just want to reiterate still, I hope that like the feedback, you take it as constructive criticism, you guys.
I was about to
Because
get to that part.
yeah, yeah, because like competitions are always lovely to have, and it might seem overwhelming at some point to get all of this feedback. But all it just really means is that people care about the competition enough to
Yeah.
want to make it better for the future.
I,
So
I said
yeah.
literally the same thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so like my last paragraph, I'll just read it verbatim. I said, "Sorry if I went overboard," which I probably did. But even with the timing of the comp in the middle of several large LAN and online events, and I know it's very difficult, you can still get quality and quantity without sacrificing either. Um, I don't want you guys to feel discouraged. I understand this is your first time, and so I'm completely forgiving a lot of things, but you have to understand that the maps are like the thing that I will not get over. And so that's why the other issues outside of the maps are not a big problem to me, because those are things that can be fine-tuned and fixed easily. Maps are things you cannot fix if you just release them as they are. But map
Well, you
packs,
can. It's just
I mean,
not
you
very good.
can, but from the testing and just the quality of maps, the quality is just.
And if the whole map quality is bad, then or like it's not is subpar, then you can't do it. But
Well,
we have
the
had
test it's
competitive
failures
maps
on
that
all
will end this
levels.
changed.
It's failures on all levels for the map pack. You have low quality map with poor testing, and just like it's across the board just low quality, and it hurts the competition more than any other feature in my opinion. And like I said, I understand it's their first time. That's why the other issues are not big of a problem to me. But map packs are literally the basis of why players are playing. Please, if you guys need help in the future, do not hesitate to utilize your network of friends. Do not hesitate to reach out to me. Do not hesitate to reach anybody in Evo. Do not hesitate to reach out to literally people. Just do it directly and not in a Discord that people have muted.
DM
Please,
the mappers.
yeah, DM the
DM
mappers.
the mappers.
Please.
Like, I think if you have like a good to great like map pack for it, a very competitive map pack, it doesn't need to be all perfect maps, just all good competitive maps. You have an incredibly incredibly exciting event at your hands, because you've got the format. I feel like is really good.
It's special. It's special.
Yeah.
It's super exciting. The concept of the event is super exciting. And so if
I
I
like
didn't,
special.
yeah,
I feel like that's what's still carrying the entire event is the format.
If I
Because,
didn't
like,
believe
it's still
in
fun.
their capabilities, like Schlumpy and Ice, if I didn't believe in your guys' capabilities, I wouldn't even bother saying anything.
I mean, you're
I
just
wouldn't say
talking. You're
anything.
just kind of there talking the topic because you just want them to understand that how important it is. Like you don't want to just keep annoying them. It's just you just want to
Yeah.
make sure they understand like how important the maps are.
Yeah, so that's
Basically.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going around in circles, Chris, because I was reading from the text and also like trying to ad lib it at the same time. And when you're writing, you have to introduction and like kind of go in circles a little bit, because you have to refresh to the people that like this is what you're meaning the entire time. Because if you just go from point A to point B, people don't understand what you're saying, and they'll be like, "What? You're insulting me?" And I'm like, "No." So yeah, you have to
Yes.
re-emphasize points when writing.
Yeah, enough
writing
of you
lesson.
getting canceled. Let's move on to the next
I'm not
topic.
getting canceled. I'm being honest, and I think it's fair.
By the way, if you do message mappers and ask them, for example, me to build a backwards map, you should make sure that you actually are gonna use that backwards map. Like not fully, but if you specifically ask me to build a map for you, and then 2 weeks later you're like, there was a problem. We already have a backwards map. That's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's something that if it happens on accident, like that's why you need to communicate with the other guys working on it. Again, like that kind of thing.
Exactly.
If that happens and you haven't communicated it, you need to find an excuse very fast. You need to be good at that.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
don't get me wrong, lying is wrong at all, but sometimes you need to find an excuse.
yeah. I think you guys have a fantastic formula on your hands, so I want you guys to continue doing that. But we're gonna move on now.
It sounds fun. It actually sounds fun.
It's fun. You should do it. You should join us next time, Shorty. Like we should.
Maybe.
You're missing out.
Yeah, I'm gonna join you as an ice player.
I just wish
It
it
was
wasn't
no
on
fun.
Sundays because it's like it's literally on the worst time of Sunday for me. Like, uh, I have
For me,
to. I can
Sundays are
only
fine.
play. I can only play at the very first. Like the maps I played, they have to be at the very first map of the first match, and then the second half of the second match. Because like right in the middle, I have like a family thing that I do every time, every day, every Sunday at like 6:30, and so it's like a get together thing. So like the fact that it's in around that time is painful for me. But outside
Yeah,
of
they
that,
should change it only for you.
exactly, only for me.
Yes, you need to, whenever you make an event, like one of the most important things is that you check with import that his his schedule matches up with it.
Exactly. We're learning. All right, so I have a new format that I want to try out. This is going to be the final segment of the stream, and it is called Old School versus New School. And what we're going to do is it makes it easy to pick out who the old school is because Shorty here is the senior of all of us in terms of Trackmania is concerned, and
Where's
Toble is
Marius? We need Marius for this.
and
I want to be new school at least in one episode if
We
you
could
continue with
get
this.
Xenogear. We could get Xenogear for old school.
true.
Or that.
And
If I ask him, he would join.
And Toble is going to represent the new school here. And so the format is that I'm going to ask a question. It could be a fun question. It could be a serious question. But I am going to pick what argument you have to defend. It may not be an argument that you necessarily agree with, but I need you to give me the most convincing argument that typically somebody of your TM generation would give.
Oh God.
So, and
Sounds
sometimes I will give you arguments that you have to do the opposite of. So, something that maybe the old school would argue for versus the new school would argue for.
Yeah, I hope I don't fumble my Trackmania knowledge here. And
It's not like a quiz. Yeah, it's a
What's
debate.
Trackmania knowledge? Your new school, you don't have Trackmania knowledge.
And
anymore.
I'm going to
that's the thing.
timer. You guys get a timer, so you can
Oh,
only
God.
do.
Oh
I'm
god,
gonna
oh
give you
god.
a
Time
5-minute
pressure as
time.
well.
Well, we've been actually going this for a while, so I'm gonna give you guys a 3-minute timer.
Oh
For
God,
your
I'm on
arguments.
a timer.
Yes. So you guys only get 3 minutes.
I feel like
to
in class.
present
Oh,
your
hopefully I
argument.
memorized all the all
This
the
is
debates.
this is great. This is great debate class learning for you guys. So you guys are into debate now. All right.
Hold on. Hit me with it.
All right. So question 1. And I will pose the question. Is the current competitive scene good for Trackmania? Toble, you are going to be on the side of the new school saying that the current competitive scene is the most amazing thing on the planet and give me the reasons as to why the current competitive scene is amazing. Shorty, you're going to present obviously the old school side and somehow convince me that former Trackmania Esports is better than what its current system is now.
How many people am I allowed to offend?
Everyone. So Toble, you're gonna be the first one to. Actually, no, we're gonna let Shorty go first. Shorty, since you're
All right.
representing the old school. Shorty,
Good
you
luck.
got 3 minutes starting now.
Alright, first of all, the format. I don't even know what kind of format we're playing currently. They have made it so difficult. They change it every single season. I don't even know what we're playing anymore. Why are we playing with 2 people in one team? This is not a team game at all. It should be about you. Then look at those maps. I don't even want to talk about the identities because I think we can all agree those are shit. They just don't make sense. What am I even looking at? That's not what a car should do. But also, what is ice? What is speed drifting? That makes no sense. It should be pure. We had the pure good old tech maps back in the day. And look at what kind of stages we played tournaments on. We had the biggest stages. We had so many great stories. We had so many big players, and they don't even play anymore. And why? Because the old format was so much better. Like those are the main reasons. Also, what the fuck? It's like 1 minute. I have 2 more minutes.
Yeah, you only burned 1 minute. You can end it now. You can end it early if you want. It's up to you.
Yeah, we ended early.
Okay, we end it early. All right, so that was a very compelling argument. Just as a head up here, I do give a point to who I find has the most compelling argument. It's my game. It's my game, so I get to choose who gets a point.
However you
I
want.
give points, and
All right. You've given me a difficult task. I have to.
Time starts now.
Of course. Yeah, so of course, competitive Trackmania is at a great spot right now. I mean, with Nadeo just pumping much like love.
It has to be
and
convincing.
it has to be convincing. Oh fuck. Shit. So yeah, I think the duo format is very cool because it kind of brings like teams, like esports team from outside of the game, kind of into the
Okay.
game, and it like gives the team dynamic. And for example, Granadi was able and his teammate, they were training together, and that was like cool, and he posted about that on Twitter at some point. And yeah, that's, I don't got more than that. I'm trying.
You have the chat literally trying to help you. You still got 2 minutes.
I don't have the chat open. Give me a second.
Talk about
opening
community events. I'm
community
helping you.
events. Yeah, community events are like literally I think at a great spot right now. There's a lot of variety, a lot of things you can do at the moment, and especially if you're like a competitive player on just a certain specific style, then there's probably going to be an event that you can participate in. And especially with like more newer players coming into the game now, you have like a lot of events that are also not focused but more like catered towards let's say lower skilled players or more casual players. And especially like events with leagues is kind of gives everyone the opportunity to play. And yeah, another thing would be yeah, right. Because of the events you have now. Can you stop making that face?
1 minute.
So yeah, I think it's not as intimidating to get into competitive Trackmania anymore because of the pure volume of events you can you actually have now, and the opportunities you have, especially due to like the Nadeo servers supporting a lot of things for events themselves and tournaments, and also the entire tournament thing, plus the ranked system, which is getting a lot of players that apparently just kind of play the ranked. At least I know some people that play the ranked a lot, and I don't. But yeah.
All right, I'm
Yeah, no,
stopping
I
your
think-
argument early here.
Yeah, that's what. This is where I wanted to stop.
Unfortunately, I think that I'm still gonna have to give the point to old
Yeah,
school
no,
here.
I
The
didn't even
argument was
convince myself.
shaky.
It was so frustrating because you had so many things that you
You
could
had so many
like,
things.
yeah.
We'll have to pause here for a second because there are so many things. The events, yes, that is something. There's for competitive wise, there's an avenue for almost every aspect of Trackmania that you can find something that you enjoy, and there's likely a competitive scene or some type of community that you're able to kind of identify with. Specifically competitive, though, there's a lot of avenues compared to previous Trackmania, because Trackmania only was tarmac at that point. So Trackmania was literally full speed or tech or, well, I guess dirt too. But like there were very limited styles. Now you have a lot of styles. Now you have a lot of variety. And with Trackmania World Tour, despite its flaws, gives opportunity to players who gives players an opportunity to path to pro. And gives them visibility where they
being
may have
way
not.
more diverse,
Yeah,
and gameplay
exactly.
mechanics in general, opening up the maps to being way more interesting because having a way more wider range of tricks being used there. You can literally say that identities are cool because they make rounds
Yep,
more exciting,
it's
which
true.
I hate, but you can.
It's true though. They make rounds interesting.
No, the thing is,
Yeah.
I strongly dislike identities, and so I
Yeah,
didn't
me
think
too.
of it. It's just
Yeah.
no, like I was just trying my best here to like.
So, all right, we're gonna give you a topic that's a little bit more up your alley.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
God.
had
I'm
you really had the
embarrassing
best
myself
shot there.
today. Don't
And
worry,
Shorty's
guys.
probably gonna hate me for this.
Oh, no.
But yeah, Shorty, you get the point for that one. That was a better argument overall, and I definitely felt the angst from the old school about how esports was way better back in old team games. All right, moving on to the next question here. The ice updates. Explain why the second ice update is better than the first one. You do not get to talk about the original ice, only the first and the second updates. And Toble, I will let you have a choice of which ice update you want to argue for.
So either I get to argue for the first one or for the second one.
For the second one. Oh, for the first or the second?
I'll argue for the second.
For the second, Shorty, that means you have to argue for the first, which is ironically the most hilarious thing ever.
I don't
So-
get to mention original ice at all, or
No,
can I?
nope. You can't. Well, you can mention what the second ice update brings back or brings qualities of the original update, but you cannot talk about how amazing the original update is. You have to make the argument that your update is a better update.
All right, yeah, I think
right.
I can not embarrass myself on this one.
So I am going to let you, Toble, start first. You have 3 minutes starting now.
All right. So yeah, a big complaint, like with the original, let's say, ice update was kind of. I mean, the biggest part, of course, was the slowdowns you'd get for just correcting your line, because any left, right, left press within a short time would give you a slowdown. And Nadeo have somewhat heard our cries, and they have made it so it's actually now. It doesn't lose you your entire speed and mess you up for the rest of the map anymore, which is great. I would say they almost overreacted with us saying that it feels sluggish at the beginning, giving you actually a small speed boost whenever you enter an ice slide, but that's not really a big negative. It's kind of a thing where you need to get used to it a little bit if you've been used to playing the older styles, but it's something that, especially with new maps coming out and stuff, is something that's not really too much of an issue anymore. Then it's also on controller. I personally play controller, though I play D-pad, and I see. No, like wiggles are a big part here, especially is way back. Wiggles were a huge thing to save time on, and was used by all of the top players, of course. After the first update, I feel like a big minus of that was that wiggles were now just, I feel personally, more difficult than they used to be back with action keys. And now, like, they're basically useless enough to where it doesn't at all matter if you wiggle or not, because you need a very long, like, straight for them to even work. And then also bobsled. Some people would consider bobsled not ice, me included. However, it is topical here as well. They have removed the 34% steering angle, which would give you an insane speed through bob turns, and kind of made it a little they tightened the gap between controller and keyboard as much as they could. And I think ice, all in all, with those updates, is now at a spot again where it's kind of getting its popularity from the first update back a little, and it's gaining back that traction that big first update and the big backlash, kind of, in my opinion at least, had. It's kind of getting back to where
10
it should
seconds.
be. Yeah, no, that's I think where I'm gonna end.
Okay.
Also, I never said ice was not playable on a controller. I always played ice on a controller.
All right. So, argument was okay. I heard a lot of good things about the ice update, but I didn't really hear why it was better than the first ice update. So, Shorty, you have an opportunity to take this point as well. You got 3 minutes to tell me why, even though we all know objectively the first ice update was awful. You have to objectively tell me and convince me why the first ice update was better than the second one. Go.
All right, so I want to start with just correcting something that Toble said, because it wasn't the second ice update that fixed the bobsleigh, it was the first update already, because the first update was the one that made full steering better than action key. So that's something for the first update. I do think the fact that on the first update ice got a little bit slow was actually a pretty good plus. I know that ice players themselves are probably going to dislike it, but let's be honest, the ice scene is not that big anyway, and I think we should rather focus on the multi-style players, which is by far the majority, also players that play Track of the Days, for example, and having a little bit more time for every single turn and having more time being prepared for the next one can be a positive in there. bobsleigh got a little bit boring, but bobsleigh was boring before, so that didn't really change much anyway. Other than that, especially about the wiggling, I think the ice update is the one that set the pace for the second one. The ice update is the one that really tackled the original issues the second one had. It's like the ice update. Sure, I'm gonna acknowledge that the first update does have a couple of issues, like in the ice slide switching from right to left is gonna give you slowdown, but that wasn't really needed anyway. If you're gonna do that during an ice slide, why would you do that? Like, that's just doesn't really make sense. Yes, you can do that to adjust your line, but that was keyboard only, so why would that be good if you can do that, if that's something that is keyboard specific? If you're gonna do the same wiggle on the gamepad, you're gonna lose time compared to keyboard, so that inherently was not a good technique being able anyway. And considering the new wiggles are still there in the first update, yes, I think the wiggles being there is not really good, but to be honest, at least they are way harder, so they already got way less useful compared to before, and that's a big plus and a really big step in the right direction already. I want to stop there. I don't have more.
Sure.
Do you mind me telling
No.
you
No,
something?
no,
Rick?
you don't get to do this. This is
Alright.
not part of the game. You do,
I am-
you got your 3 minutes. Yeah, that's all you get. Dang. Shorty shots fired on so many things. Holy crap. Saying that community was small, bobsleigh's boring.
I just want to point out I don't
jeez.
believe in a lot of things I said just now. I just had to
But
do what I had to
see,
do.
okay, that's a good thing though, because that shows that you're capable of making arguments, even if you don't necessarily leave them. You're good at making
I can't
very good
do that.
debates. So, oh man, I mean, if it were just purely on like the ability to make arguments, it would be Shorty, but Shorty made a little bit too much of egregious statements on the community of ice, let alone the elements of it being boring in general. And so therefore I am going to have to side with Toble on this one. He is going to get the points for the second debate, even though I would say it's very close. Toble, we're going to have to work on your convincing arguments.
It's not a good. It's not good. Not a skill of mine, I'd say. No,
All
can
right.
I need to, there's a glaring thing Shorty said wrong here that I just want to correct him on. With the left, right, left, adjusting your line, you said that's not necessary, but it's like if you go from tarmac to ice, for example, you steered left because the last turn was a left turn, and now you steer into the ice turn and have to counter steer, and then you get a slowdown.
In the entry, you need to do it, but in the ice slide itself, you don't have to.
But the
I mean,
entry
you
is the
could-
problem.
Yeah, that's not. I don't have to say that.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to correct that.
Yeah, no, it's good that you do that.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do a
I should
final
have
round.
mentioned it. Whatever.
Because we're tied right now, we're gonna have to do a final round here. This is gonna be a fire round. A fire round. You're only gonna have a minute to explain to me this topic, and I'm low key making this off the top of my head because I didn't write a third question, but we're gonna make it really good. All right, explain to me. I have it. It's perfect now. Why 2v2 is better than 3v3? Old school. You get 3v3 because that has been the format for time as all has been existed in Trackmania. Toble, you have to defend 2v2 and why it is the new age. Do not bring matchmaking into this because we all know that's mudded. But like you have to, in the general sense, why 2v2 is better than 3v3, vice versa. Toble, man, I feel like this is such an unfair argument, but this is the question I had up that popped into my mind. Toble, you're gonna have to go ahead first. You have literally 1 minute. 1 minute. This is a fire round. Give me the most egregious statements. You go 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so I mean, 2v2 of course is great in the sense of making an exciting match. Let's say you got this TMWT match and it is a dead tied, and 1 point for either team would immediately win it. Due to kind of having that 2v2 with the way the points work, you can have like draws, and it just kind of goes on and back and forth, and that just kind of makes for this I feel like exciting match. And 2v2 in the same sense is kind of also much more, let's say, punishing in the sense the players need to be more consistent because of just like if one person fails, the difference that it makes in kind of pace your team has and points you're going to get out of the match is going to be a much larger impact than
5
on
seconds.
3v3, for example. Yeah.
All right. Okay. That was pretty convincing, especially towards the end. You kind of got it together a little bit at the end.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
had to use all of my thinking cap.
Shorty, you get a minute as well, and your time starts now.
I think 3v3 is already a lot better because 2v2 does have draws, which can make it exciting, but 2v2 just has too many draws. I do think having 2 more players also is kind of good. This gives more players to have a chance being seen, and it also gives more positional ranges. Like with 2v2, you only have 3 stages. You have like draw, you have win or lose. But with 3v3, you have a lot more options with how the round is going to turn out, and even with 3v3 you can also have draws. So basically 3v3 is 2v2 just better. Also 3v3, because it has less draws but still is capable of having draws, is going to make it more easily predictable how long matches in general tend to be, even though you can still have close matches. If you want to host tournaments, if you want to stay in schedule, that's really important for tournaments as well.
Okay. All right. So, chat, I know you're in here. We're going to let chat decide your guys' fates. Chat, if you liked Toble's argument more for 2v2, press 1. If you liked Shorty's argument better, press 2 and type it in chat. I will give you guys a couple minutes we'll give you about 120, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. All right, chat, you have 2 minutes to decide. While I'm doing that, let's go ahead and give our goodbyes at this point because we're going to end the stream. Thank you so much, Toble and Shorty, for joining me again. Toble, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the cool things that you're doing with Split, and I'm super excited for what's going to be happening in September. Do you have any shout outs?
Shout outs. Nothing specific. I'm just seeing a lot of fellow supporters in the chat, and so I'm shouting everyone who is supporting me. Yeah, no. Other than that, if you want to stay up to date with what Split is doing, events that we're participating in, events that we're hosting, what our team is doing, streams that we're doing, go ahead and follow our Twitter account. That should be split at split_tm. You can also contact us at contact@teamsplit.org, and you'll find that email on our Twitter account. And yeah, I hope to see some of you guys on split_tm. Thanks for posting that. I hope to see some of you guys in Split Masters Monthly XPEvo edition. I'm going to be casting it with Import, and I believe we're going to be streaming it on Evo's channel even, which is very exciting for me because Split gets people. And also I get to cast with Import, which is something I've been wanting to do for like the last almost 2 years. So yeah.
All right. Well, that just made the stress go up a little. I hope also that all this. I hope I get to see a lot of Split people at XPEvo. That would be super cool as well.
We are
Shorty. It seems like the odds are stacked against you. I'm gonna go ahead and say that you have lost the third round.
Yeah, I saw it. Good job.
The guest powers be too strong. So Toble, you did win the first ever debate, old school versus new school. Shorty, you're gonna have to come back again as always because you're a part of this podcast.
Man, I even get second in this.
I didn't plan it for that way, but that's amazing.
Honestly, the very first thing I had to argue for, I was so deep in the mud. I was like, I could have made it a funny satirical argument, but when you said I have to make it believable, I was like, what do I say?
Yeah, I mean, you can make things funny. It's the first time me trying this format, and just by the way I enjoyed it so much, it's gonna come back.
I actually missed the biggest point for 2v2 maybe being bad, because saying that draws can be exciting is kind of like, yeah, but draws can be horrible because you're gonna be you can be 10 minutes in a match and it's like 2-1 and you go up to 7. Like, what the fuck is this?
So, like, I think something that you maybe
well.
could have pointed out in 2v2 is that it's more economically friendly to esports orgs, and also the fact that it's just
Yeah,
easier to
definitely.
access than 3v3. Like, you could have brought that out. I think that would have been something that also could have been brought out. 3v3,
That
I
one
think,
was a really
is
good one because it wasn't really like it. Basically, you can make points for both. Like there
Yeah.
isn't anything
Yeah,
better
I
or
feel
worse.
like the last point that I made was just like I was the entire way I was talking, I was just trying to not be silent during the minute, and then I got this great point at the end of like, if you make that mistake, I was like, ah, cool, maybe I have a chance.
Yeah. So
But yeah,
you did a good job,
yeah.
especially for the first
Yeah,
first
you
edition
did.
of this segment, which I think I like doing this segment. It was fun. We'll do it again. So thank you guys. We're gonna head out now. It's been a while. I think we've tired everything that we've tired out so far. I can't talk anymore. I'm tired. I need to go to bed. You guys have a good rest of your evening. Thank you again, Toble, for joining us. Shorty, of course, as always. Hopefully, we'll see Lime next week again, and we will be back again for another Drop Gears podcast soon. XPEvo's coming. It's less than a month, boys. Let's go. All right. See you guys. Have a good one. Love yourselves. Take care of each other, and have a good evening.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.